स्वभावचिन्मयानन्दं कृपापूर्णं जगत्पतिं हरिषड्वर्गजेतारं नित्यानन्दगुरुं भजे। स्वभावचिन्मयानन्दं कृपापूर्णं जगत्पतिम्.
Let's enter into these few questions. Then we will enter into the slokas, both the slokas. You told us how to establish a connection with deities through their murtis. In what respect would then worshipping of idols be counterproductive? I don't understand. What do you mean by counterproductive? The other day I was reading a beautiful article. One scientist went to the deep jungles of Amazon forest, stayed there with a group of tribals. He says they have a strange tradition of creating the effigy, statue of somebody and healing that person through that statue. If they heal the hand, that person's hand gets healed. And not only that, they even kill their enemies through those statues. They create the statue of the enemies and invoke with some mantra and their traditional ritual. After 30 days they kill this, they destroy this effigy and that person is dead within 3 days. They have this strange kind of belief, not just human being, even animals and trees. If there is some animal which is really disturbing their village continuously, they make the effigy of that animal. For 30 days they they create a connection between that animal and this effigy by chanting some mantra and ritual. And after 30 days they destroy this effigy. In 3 days the animal is dead. And not once or twice, he says, he studied 300 times their ritual. I think he spent at least 10 years around them. 300 times, he says, except 4 times, completely everything was successful. Only 4 times it was failure. Can you imagine? Just 4 times failure, 300 times, means 99% success, practically. 99% they were able to heal or kill, disturb or damage or help animal or human being just through the clay effigy and connecting it through some mantras, through some sounds and rituals. If you can connect with a normal human being with an image, can't you connect with the ultimate divine through the idol? That is the essence of our tradition of worship. First, the idol should be used as a representation of the God. Then after some time, the very idol itself will radiate the divinity. You will feel the very deity is God. There is no God represented by that idol. The idol itself will become God. That is the ripe devotion, intense devotion. This is the basic sutra. Naturally your way of worship, everything will change as you evolve. In the initial level, it will be very decent formal worship because you think that this idol represents God. And slowly you will see it becomes very intimate, not formal, very intimate. And that's what Ramakrishna says, puja should ripe into seva. In normal puja, first once you cook, the fresh food will be put in front of the deity, in front of the God, and you will offer it to the God through the idol and eat. Once it ripes and really becomes intimate, when Ramakrishna used to do puja, he will first taste it and see whether it is nice or not, is good food or not, hot or not, then he will put it in front of the God. Means the relationship has become matured and the intimacy has grown. The devotion, the connection has happened. So if you evolve in your devotion, the connection also, the way in which you do worship, that also will evolve. For example, if you see in our temple, after 10 o'clock, all the deities will be put to bed. You will see small deities will be there in front of each god. In front of Vishnu there will be small Vishnu. In front of Shiva there will be small Shiva Meru representing Shiva energy. They will all be put to bed. You may ask how God can sleep. If he sleeps, what will happen to us? He is Kutagesha, means he has conquered sleep. No sleep for him. How can God be put to sleep? If logically, if you see, we will end up in this question and confusion. That devotion, that relationship is not logically analyzing, feeling, thinking that idol represents God and all. The intimacy has grown. So it is no more puja, it is seva. The Advaita will not be useful anymore. A deep relationship, personal connection will start happening. That is a deeper level experience. So, I can't say something is lower and something is higher. Puja is also beautiful as long as it is useful. Seva is wonderful when that is the way your heart feels connected. It's like a different steps. Different steps. For a logical mind, seva will not be able to, they will not be able to feel connected to seva. I have seen, I think the other day I was telling you the story of that Krishna, that lady bringing and feeding, and you can't imagine. And same way, the other day I was telling you the one story. I took a brick thinking it's an ordinary brick and put my head on it and started lying down. And that guy, villager came running. How dare you put my, you sleep on my Shiva. But if you see from the point of the Advaitic standpoint, the person who is sleeping and the pillow and the villager all are Shiva. What is there? There is another one story I can tell you. Once one great enlightened lady, her name is Avvayar, she lived in Tamil Nadu. Once she was sitting and stretching her leg towards the deity in the temple, towards Shiva in the temple. The priest came and asked her, told her, move your legs, you are turning towards Shiva, just turn it other side. She is a very old lady, enlightened lady. She said, I am too tired, why don't you yourself put my leg where the God is not there? And the story says, this priest with all the anger, he just pushed her leg with a stick towards the other direction, and the Shivalinga turned towards that direction. And he pushed the leg the other direction. Again, Shivalinga turned towards that direction. See, because she was in that consciousness. All you need is authenticity with your heart. That's all. The story which I was telling, I took a brick and put it on my head, under my head, and farmer running, he came running. That is also truth. And this story, again the Avvayar story, the priest moving the leg, her leg, and Shivalinga turning towards that direction. This is also true. Both are true because we were completely authentically connected with our emotion. It was clear. At this bhava, at this attitude, that was the truth. At this attitude, the Avvayar was in a complete realization. She was completely connected, filled with Advaitic Anubhuti, Advaita Anubhuti. We call it as constantly radiating the experience of the ultimate. There is a beautiful, still the temple is there. It's called Uttama Solapuram near Salem. There is a Shiva temple. You will see every direction God will be there. Because he turned for the sake of Avvayar every direction, you will see every direction the deity will be put, the Shivalinga will be there. Anyhow, so she was in that state authentically. So naturally, the deity responded to that state. So all you need to do is, in which state you are now, be authentic in that. If you are feeling now worshipping, doing a formal puja, do that. If you are really feeling so intimately connected, then have a deity in the home and do whatever you feel like. There is no rule for you. There is no bhava for you. You are beyond visualization or rules or regulation. It's like a living with the divine. It's like seva. I have seen, of course, in our ashram, Bangalore ashram, every day morning for Anandeshwara they will give the tooth powder and oil for hair. Oil for hair and the tooth powder, and then they will do the Suprabhadam, meaning the song of waking up. They will sing for the divine, please wake up and bless us all. It's like a good morning. And one day this pujari, this guy forgot. That night the Anandeshwara appeared and asked, hey, where is my toothbrush? Where is my toothpaste? That guy had the shock. And not only that, another one day, they use the chamaram, the fan. In the end of the arati they will use the fan. I always tell them that it should not be kept on the ground. If it is kept on the ground, there will be dust. And when you do the fanning with that, naturally that dust you will sneeze. I always tell them, if you do that for me, naturally I will sneeze. So you should be careful when you do the seva for the deity also. Because the pujas done in the monasteries and done by the unpaid priest is a seva. When it is just paid and a job, it is a puja, formal. But all our temples we are fortunate to have our own spiritual seekers, swamis, who are trained in the traditional puja. So it is a life for them. It's living with the divine. See, he is not doing puja, seeing or looking at who is coming and what is the thing falling in the plate. See, if it was paid job, naturally even while you are looking at the deity's face, you will see only George Washington whose face is printed in dollar. What to do? It's natural difficulty. Of course, that's why in those days, priests are taken care by kings. They were never paid employees. Of course, anyhow, that is a different tradition. In the ancient tradition in India, even doctors are never paid. If somebody falls sick, more work for them. Whether people fall sick or not, they are paid. Every month they get their share. So if people fall sick, more work, but same payment, but more work. So naturally what they will do, they will pray, let people not fall sick, let everybody be healthy. Now what to do? Anyhow. So it's a authenticity. So this guy one day did not clean that chamaram, clean that fan. He fanned. That night again in the dream he sees such huge murti sneezing. This fellow had the shock of his life and ran to the temple and prayed, and he sent an email. Swamiji, this is what has happened. I said, it's okay. Just keep that, in Ayurvedic tradition we give that something to get rid of the cough and cold. I told offer that as a nevedya and get rid of this. Don't do this once more. See, because the attitude was so strong. He responds to it. There is a beautiful sloka in Gita. Whatever attitude you may have, whatever form you may worship, I accept in that same form. I appear to you in that same form. I respond to you in that same mode. There is a wonderful story. Another wonderful story which I always love. It happened in Varanasi. Varanasi is the main pilgrimage center for Hindu tradition. It was the traditional university, oldest city, I can say oldest city of the Bharat of India. Even now the floating population is 300,000 per day. 300,000 per day people enter or leave that city for pilgrimage purpose. Traditionally it is believed all Hindus should visit the temple even once, at least once in their life. It happened there, the so-called untouchable or the so-called person who can't be initiated, but a very highly qualified, he is not educated but he has evolved himself. He wants to have initiation from a local priest, but he is afraid to ask the priest for initiation. But the priest himself is a very highly evolved soul. He wouldn't have said no if that person asked. But anyhow, this guy decided to have a very tricky way of initiation. Usually initiation is done, the guru will put the feet on the head of the disciple and utter the mantra. So that is the way the initiation is given. Of course, in the modern days, nowadays we put only the hand because it looks too disrespectful. So we put the hand and give the mantra. That is the traditional way of initiation. So this guy, every day morning the priest will come for the Ganga Snana, taking bath in Ganga. So early morning, it will be very dark. This poor guy, he thinks, I'll lie down in the steps of Ganga. Naturally, he will step on me. He will put his foot on me. And usually the people who are living in the high state of mood, even if they do small mistake, they will only say Namah Shivaya or Shivaya, Shivaya, Ram Ram. Some God's name only will come out. Even if they slip and fall, they will only say Ram Ram or Shiva, something. So this guy thinks, anyhow, even if he slips on me, first thing he will put his leg on me and naturally he will utter Shiva or Rama. I'll take that as an initiation and start practicing. It's a very but unfortunately, the day he lied down, this priest did not come, his disciple came to take bath. The disciple came for taking bath. That guy is not only not a seeker, and he is there just for the sake of food. So he came walking, and as the poor guy expected, the whole scene happened as he expected. He put the foot and missed, slipped. But after all, this guy is not constantly repeating the God's name inside the mind. Only if you are constantly repeating that name, when you slip also, that same name will come out. But after all, this guy is not constantly repeating God's name. What he will do? He shouted, "Hey, buffalo!" Instead of saying Rama or Krishna, he shouted, "Buffalo!" But anyhow, this guy is a very sincere guy, this poor guy. He said, whatever is said and done, I think it is Shiva's guidance. That is why the guru did not come, disciple came, but I had my initiation. He took that as an initiation. And his sincerity is such, he sat in the banks of Ganges continuously for 12 years. Even now, if you go to the Ganga, you will see one temple little moved. The temple will be little imbalanced. That is constructed such a way, because that's in that step only the disciple got imbalanced and initiated. So still the temple is there, still the place is there. And this guy sat and started chanting the word buffalo, 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 buffalo from morning till night, sincerely visualizing the golden color buffalo with all the divine qualities. And his sincerity is such, God did appear, Shiva did appear and gave darshan in the form of buffalo. This year, the story does not end here. Every Diwali day, the Shiva deity will be brought from the Annapurni temple. Annapurni temple is a small entrance temple. They will bring that Shiva deity outside for puja. So he also went for the Diwali program. They are trying to bring that, this is small, this size deity and some 4 feet or 5 feet height entrance. They are trying to bring the deity through that. But it's not coming out. See, deity size is smaller than the entrance, but there it is not coming out. It is stuck somewhere, this side and that side. The priests are turning this way, turning that way, it is not coming out. But there is a lot of clearance, but the deity is not coming out. This guy, this poor guy, he shouts from the behind, "Hey, the bulls, the buffaloes, the horns are hitting the wall, bring it down, lower it down a little bit." Means, he is seeing Shiva in the form of buffalo. He is able to see, but the priests are seeing only the small deity. Because he is having that vision, that buffalo is not able to come out of that small entrance. He is shouting from behind, "Hey, lower it, lower the deity a little bit. The horn will come out. Then the deity will come out." The priests are not able to understand what he is telling. They shouted at him, "Keep quiet, what are you saying?" But the poor guy said, "No, I am seeing." They tried their best, the priests tried their best to bring the Murti out. No, they were not able to bring. Then this guy was not able to tolerate that Shiva's horn hitting the entrance again and again. Whenever they try, he rushes and just pushes the deity little down, and deity comes out. Even now, in memory of this great saint, his name is Ramdas, still now there is a beautiful buffalo picture carved or stitched in silken rope will be hanging next to the Annapurni's shrine. In the Annapurni's shrine, it will be hanging with his photo with that. The devotion and the respect, feeling connected, whatever may be the form, he comes down and blesses. Still the story is remembered every year when they bring the deity out of the temple, and when the deity comes near the entrance, the puja is done in memory of that saint, that Ramdas. Then the deity is brought out. It's the intensity. It is the authentic intensity. That is the whole essence. That is the essence of the whole worship.